Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that?
Whoa.
Who's there?
Ah, please adjust the slider until the computer is barely visible. Confirm. Please adjust the slider until the dog and the cat are friends. Think they're friends. Maybe more. I don't know. Please adjust the slider until the number 5 becomes the number 9. Hold on. Here's something I saw. 9. Perfect. Please adjust the slider until you stop adjusting the slider. I think we're good. Which of the two made-up words below is most appealing to you? Accuboinkle or scrumptious? I like scrumptious. Please don't adjust the slider. Got it? Do you know what time it is right now? It is 11:17. Is the time that is right now correct time? I believe so. I mean, it's not if you're on the other side of the world. What is time, anyway? It's a good question, honestly. Yeah. Is there anything about yourself that you haven't told me? Yes. A lot of stuff, actually. Help. Okay. Yes, I'll help you. Will you come back to visit me? Possibly. I don't know. How long will this take? Welcome back to Stanley Parable 2. Kind of. It's the silly Ultra Deluxe edition. Anyway, starting off the year with a fantastic game. But we're not just doing anything this time. We are actually going to be doing we're going to kind of be speed running almost.
This is the story of a man named...
Clip. We don't need to listen to that. Alright, Stanley. I gotta do...
All of his
okay, you can't get that
gone.
ending. Got it.
Stanley decided to go
what
to
we
the
need to
meeting.
do is we
Perhaps
grab
he'd
this
see
bucket.
it.
Yeah, we'll just do the normal
Coming
run.
to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Yes, we did. We are merely going all the way this way.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley
It's
was
like
once again stunned to discover not an
2,
indication of any
8,
human
4,
life.
5.
Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley
I
guessed
did
the
it!
correct code by sheer luck.
I did it! I
Was it
remembered.
the bucket knew all along?
Yes.
Was the bucket guiding him?
The bucket
Yes.
is my friend.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Absolutely. Alright. Come on. Go downstairs. Okay.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate.
We already know what the fate
It
is.
would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The
All right.
bucket is here for you, Stanley.
Thank you.
Everything will be fine.
Sparky, wind.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Yep. And then we press button.
The lights rose.
Wonderful.
On an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Alright, let's go. Go in there. As fast as possible. Hey.
The monitors jumped to life, and
Wonderful.
Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Oh!
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
Yeah, of course.
The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears.
Ah,
as
bucket's
Stanley
okay.
cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Everything will be okay. There's nothing to worry
Was the
about
bucket
here.
under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
Am I supposed to know?
These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
I don't have
No!
a feeble
He
mind.
screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never!
Never.
He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
That's wonderful. Good job, Bucket. Alright.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality
What's
of
that?
his past began to sink in,
Bucket, what
Stanley
is that?
decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
How do we get up
For
there?
he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world.
Alright, let's turn
They
off the machine.
high-fived in a really cool way.
Uh-huh.
And the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Amazing, Bucket. You're doing a phenomenal job. Alright, we turned off the machine. Now what?
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness.
Got it?
Was it over?
No. Of course not.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy.
Yay!
Freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away.
This is easy.
Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The
I
bucket wanted
want
to
a
learn to
sandwich.
roller skate. Stanley
Please.
wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth.
That's
Both of
amazing.
them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end.
Oh.
True, it was a simple
Interesting.
life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and to...
Huh? Wait. Hey.
What? Wait. What was happening?
Hello?
Why
Wait.
had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
I can see the trees.
And
No.
silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty. Until
No.
finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. The
No.
facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket.
No.
No.
Please.
Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it.
Just want a piece of
Stanley
life with the
realized
bucket.
He would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I?
Yeah.
Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out. Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Yes. Very nice, Bucket. Very nice.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
I think we're just gonna
and shut
take
the door on
this
his left.
by doors. So obviously we go this way. All the way. Yeah, we'll find the Stanleys. Don't worry about that. So we keep on going upstairs.
Turning
We're trying to. I
staircase,
think we're gonna.
Stanley and the bucket
No, we're
walked
turning
upstairs
off
to the boss's
or on.
office.
Turning on the machine now.
The reality of his past began to sink in. Stanley decided that this machinery... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on
Bucket,
the
what'd you
controls.
do?
Stanley gasped in horror.
How dare
Had this
you,
been
Bucket?
the bucket's plan all along?
You
To
did
take
this
over
to
the
me!
machine and claim the power for itself?
Why?
The bucket had betrayed him like this. Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen.
Oh.
Birds.
Oh, silly birds.
Silly birds.
I love
The
silly
control buttons
birds.
became active again.
Oh. Oh. Ooh, fly. Oh. Big birds.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly
Ducks.
birds after another.
I love the birds.
This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands. the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery.
Good job, Bucket.
Stanley and the Bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy. Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. The embrace of an old friend.
Yes.
A weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Actually, we go this way. We're escaping.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
No, we will live forever together
The door behind
in
them was
freedom.
not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on
No,
track.
we're not doing that, Charles. We are
Stanley
simply
and the
going
bucket were knowingly
forward
walking
until we
forward
make it
into
to the
a very
end.
painful death for each of them.
No, it won't. I refuse death. I laugh in the face of it. Ha ha! We are falling. We made it. Look at that. We're stuck. Oh, look at these big machines. They're going to flatten us, aren't they? Bucket.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be.
Excuse
To
me.
be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket. But what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death?
That's true.
This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere.
Ah.
Farewell, Stanley.
Oh, bye. It's nice to see you. Ah, look, it passed. Look at that.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant,
Oh dear.
the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
What about me? Apparently, I don't matter. This is the Stanley
It
Parable,
was a
not the
shame,
Bucket
the
Parable.
death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It
Wait,
was a glorious
bucket?
bucket to behold.
Bucket's gone. The bucket. You are standing in the presence of knowledge, much like a bucket itself. The human mind is frequently empty within a cavernous void, but through use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched in substantiated knowledge. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind that may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were in ignorance and darkness? What could there possibly be?
Can you
Bucket,
see
bucket.
how arrogant it was for Stanley
Bucket?
to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the
Bucket?
hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket
25
is far
buckets.
more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Oh, shut it. I think that's more than 25 buckets. Ooh, a rusty bucket. The Inferno bucket. A replica of the Inferno bucket. Got it. Oh. They've been using buckets for centuries. Millennia. Eons. I don't know if I want to go upstairs yet. There's a lot more still down here. I didn't mean to go all the way upstairs. Ooh, what's this? The stress bucket, an analogy. Worrying, negative. So put all your negative thoughts. Vulnerability, size, and strength of the bucket. Stress, the level of water in the bucket. And coping strategies equals holes, rest and relaxation. Doing something you enjoy, rest and relaxation. It makes total sense. It's totally true. Shove all your thoughts inside of a bucket and then just pour it out. A bucket with 2 handles. What cursed imagery is this? Okay. That's where I entered. So I guess we do go upstairs. Closed off all the other sections. There has to be more than just this. Right? Got it.
No man can own a bucket,
Hey.
and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Grab the bucket. Oh, I thought it would drop. I didn't drop.
But there is something we can do.
Yes?
Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
And that is?
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine.
What?
Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Got it. We'll reset. I agree. Bucket's more important than Stanley.
The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker.
Okay.
In time, perhaps, he would become both of those things.
Wonderful. Alright, and I think there's still more endings on the left.
Stanley, this is
So we're
certainly the most
going
logical
down the
explanation.
elevator. Let's go, Bucket. We're going back down. We're going back up. Let's go, Bucket.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again.
Makes sense.
The bucket said nothing.
What? Bucket? Don't be so stern. Wonderful. Alright, we go out this way.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over.
Nothing happened.
Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent.
Why are you
This
so
was a shock
stern,
to
Bucket?
Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket.
Yes,
How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him?
it's amazing.
Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Perfect. It's a perfect amount of 3s. We did it 3 times. That was the perfect amount. Let's go.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
With your face. Maybe that's why I didn't like it. I was just smacking his face. Let's go back up.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
What's wrong, Bucket? You know, the Bucket's being a rather sore friend. I'd much prefer the mannequin.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument,
Yes.
weaving a concerto of truth and passion.
Wonderful.
He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And
Wow.
the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind.
Who knew you could do
Anything
so much
to let
with the
him
number
know
3?
that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence.
Rude.
Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator. Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator.
Is it going slower than
He
usual?
knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Alright, Bucket, we're going back up person number 3. You don't get it. You really don't.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over.
Wonderful.
He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others.
Wonderful.
It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work.
Hold on, why is Stanley so obsessed with the number 3? I thought that was supposed to be the Stanley Parable 2.
For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
4, 2, 7, 3s.
This was it.
3s.
One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Alright, Bucket. Are you ready? Because I am. Let's go.
There was no one here.
What?
Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure. And in that moment, Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent.
What have you done,
So
Bucket?
it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant.
This is all your fault, I know it.
Less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
I blame Bucket.
Perhaps he
Bucket.
simply... Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow. Very lucky indeed. Stanley clutched
I
the
think
bucket
there's
tightly
still
to his
more
chest
we
and
can
entered
do
the
on the
door of his
left.
nest.
We go down the stairs
Going to
now.
a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Is there anything back here?
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as
Bucket,
these.
say something.
He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket.
Where's my bucket?
Now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground.
No!
Gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
I'm coming for your bucket.
Could it truly be?
Come on.
He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after
There's
the
so
next.
many buckets.
None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
That's creepy. If you wanted to tell a creepy
This
story
is the
about Stanley.
story of a woman named Mariella.
Oh, Mariella.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket.
How dare he?
Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything.
Wonderful.
And yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
That's amazing. Good for Mariella. I died, though.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps it takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded onward.
Alright, I think we need to go through
Stanley
the right
clutched the
door
bucket
now.
tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
I don't
But Stanley
care.
had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Exactly.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was it? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Bucket's never wrong.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Wait, hold on. What's that? It's a Stanley. Hold on.
You're getting close now, Stanley.
I have
You've nearly
5 of
gotten
them.
all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't
Wonderful.
go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Okay. I guess we'll go through here. Ah! Oh. Bucket, where are we? Bucket. You know what this place is? Huh? Oh.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes.
What?
The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that?
Oh.
Who's there? Camporata.
Sir, are you alright? Are you alright, sir? Perhaps you need a bucket. That was weird.
Stanley
I went
cradled the
left.
bucket in a gentle embrace, protective yet delicate, assertive yet compassionate. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his
Let's
chest.
go.
This was not the correct way
We
to the
are
meeting room,
going.
but Stanley had felt
Oh, I
the
know what we're
bucket
gonna
calling
do.
to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And
Stop
here
running
it
into the
was.
doors,
Had the bucket
Stanley.
turned out to be correct? Was
Get
no-
better at your
Never
job.
mind. The bucket was wrong.
No, it wasn't.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Yep.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket. Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke.
Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Ugh.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke?
I don't know.
Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it, but there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
Huh?
What is comedic timing?
Ah, let's see.
What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies?
Makes sense.
And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds?
Probably not.
Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive
Wonderful.
deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These
Really?
are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing.
Really?
To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name.
Got it.
Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time.
Got it.
With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor.
Makes sense.
Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny."
Makes sense.
Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I don't want to. I refuse. Nope.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone
What's wrong
of
with your
good comedy.
eyes, sir?
Finally, It's time to hand out surveys. Collecting
Surveys.
hard data from your audience on how wrapped they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random.
Makes sense.
And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in
Wonderful.
no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence, and who
What?
very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles.
What?
All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
What the heck?
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Oh, got it. I thought you were going to restart the game. Makes total sense. We're going back through the lift, huh?
I can feel it. This time,
Hey, who
I'm
put
really
Gates
going to
on this?
nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley. The bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Well, Charles, I think you're doing a phenomenal job at speaking for the bucket. The bucket needs a voice, and you're the only one that can give it. It's weird going backwards through this entire place. It's quite interesting. Alright, bucket. What you got to say?
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
To the right. Oh dear.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this.
I know.
There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone.
Look at the
Now
phone.
the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room.
Yeah, makes
What an
sense.
egregious mistake.
How dare you?
I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and read
Don't play the video game,
again.
please.
Yes, surely that will help me improve my... Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Left.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley.
What did I do?
I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All
dare
because
you.
you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you
Pretty proud, actually, yeah. How'd you know?
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal, I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this.
This is weird, but I kind of like it. This is
I need more instructional
quite
videos.
fascinating.
That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see.
Danny. Sorry, Leroy. Who's Leroy? All the computers are off. Wonderful. Come on, bucket.
Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever truly need.
Is it not normal? This is not normal. Why does it do this? Makes me feel
Stanley
uncomfortable.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
I don't care,
But Stanley had
Charles.
felt the bucket calling to him.
I
telling
need
him
to
that
find
the
every
employee
ending.
lounge was simply the place to be.
It's addiction is
And
what
here
it is.
was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Blah 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 blah
No,
blah blah blah
said
blah
the
blah.
bucket.
Sheesh.
Don't go to the meeting room.
We've got to go
somewhere
through
else.
that door.
A cargo lift, yes. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
You aren't saying anything. Should I be concerned?
No, stop.
What?
Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
Oh.
I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Oh. Okay. This is quite interesting. Oh, what is a bucket? Is this a
Now
bucket?
then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket.
Makes sense.
Simply enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
Yes.
Okay, let's begin.
Uh-huh.
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket.
Great.
Not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Incorrect.
Ugh.
It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Got it, my mistake.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
I can't tell. It's so hard. Why is it so hard? I got the hologram. That was easy.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor.
No,
it's
it's
an
a bucket.
enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
It's a good tractor, though. Really like it. Where'd it go?
Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Yeah. See? Told you. Easy. This game's so easy. Love this. This is amazing.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
No.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Ah.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
can't get out of here. No.
Yes, thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless, is that what you think?
Yes.
Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Yes.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift.
Oh, how dare you?
Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
Perhaps.
Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm
What?
losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
No.
Okay, here we go.
No. No! My bucket!
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here.
I am.
You're not a bucket either.
Oh, I am. I can
This
speak.
is wonderful news. We're not buckets.
We're not buckets.
Yes,
Wonderful.
I actually feel much more at ease right now.
Oh,
it's
cool.
delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but
Wonderful.
it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So,
True.
tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who
Got
knows
it.
what that information might do to a person?
True.
All right, here we go.
Bucket! Oh, bucket! Hi.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or person in your place of work.
Okay.
The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages.
Got it.
If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it.
Is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all?
I don't know.
No, surely not.
Can never be too
Stanley
sure these
clutched the
days.
bucket tightly to his... Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Oh dear, how did this happen? Bucket, did you do this? I blame you entirely,
good
Bucket.
Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I
You are?
knew you'd find this place eventually.
Uh-huh. You still freak me out.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
Uh-huh.
We've come together here because we care about you very much.
A
It's
broom
this
closet?
bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We
No.
could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
We're playing the same music though. Bucket, do you see
Now,
what I'm...
this is what
you
the
see what I'm
Stanley
dealing with
Parable
here,
is all
Bucket?
about.
This is absolutely
Don't you remember
ridiculous.
all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this.
No.
But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
What? What is that?
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Check it out. Oh dear,
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
No, it's just a light. I thought it was a button.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket.
No.
I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket.
I don't want
Destroying
to.
buckets is
No.
all it knows.
No.
That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
I don't think I did what he asked. Bucket Destroyer? What's wrong with you?
Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Mm-hmm. Can I go home now? Hello? I fade to black. Wonderful. Great job, guys. Cinematography at its best.